Last week, the Railways finances were presented along with the Union budget. In 2019, the Railways revenue is estimated to be around 2.17 lakh crore rupees and the expenditure is estimated to be around 2.08 lakh crore rupees. A few months prior to the budget, it was reported that Railways had recorded its highest ever operating ratio, crossing the 100% mark, which basically means that Railways has been spending more than what it's been earning, and consequently it has lesser funds to invest in infrastructure or improve its services. Railways operating ratio has actually been higher than 90% for the past several years now, and it indicates the poor financial health of the transporter. This begs the question on whether the Railways is financially viable. Now let us look at the Railways finances and also look at some latest budget numbers to understand this. Indian Railways has primarily three sources of revenue. The revenue it earns itself through its core transportation business of goods and passengers, the budgetary support that it gets from the central government, and any kind of borrowings from the market. Now, internal revenue comes from its core business of transporting goods and passengers. About 60% of this traffic comes from the goods traffic. Now, there are a few issues with the way Railways currently runs its goods business. One of the main problems is that this entire goods basket is limited to a few goods, primarily on coal, which could pose a risk to the business. Unless Railways chooses to diversify this trade basket, any fluctuation in these commodities, or if they choose to shift to any other modes of transport, it will have a significant impact on Railways revenue. Secondly, Railways is also losing on its goods business as the freight rates are much higher as compared to other modes of transport. So consumers are choosing to move to other modes of transport such as roads. In fact, over the last 50 years, Railway's share in goods transport has come down from almost 90% to now 30%, most of the shift having moved to the road sector. On the other hand, passenger traffic contributes to about 30% of the railway's internal revenue, but it also makes losses to the tune of around 33,000 crore rupees annually. And most of it is due to the lower concessional fares Railways provides, and all these resulting losses are actually borne by Railways. Now, one can say that Railways could potentially increase these fares for passenger traffic and generate some additional revenue. However, these services are mostly used by the poorer sections of the society, and raising fares may not be an easy or feasible task. Further, passenger traffic also faces a lot of competition from both roads and air traffic, which have become increasingly competitive in the recent years. So, any increase in fares in railways will easily drive passengers from rail to other modes of transport. Now, let's look at where Railways spends all of this money that it's earning from its internal revenue. It spends about two-thirds of its entire expenditure on wages for its staff and pension. This expense has been gradually increasing over the years, and with every pay commission revision, there is a huge increase in this expenditure. And experts have noted that it's extremely high and unmanageable as well. Another important expenditure head for the railways is the Depreciation Reserve Fund. The money from this fund is essentially intended to finance the cost of replacing old assets with new assets. But in the last few years, the allocation to this fund has decreased significantly. From being allocated around Rs 7,700 crore in 2014, this year in 1920, the allocation has come down to Rs 500 crore. Now, if we consider the kind of scale of infrastructure that Railways manages, reducing this amount will not allow for timely replacement or repair of depreciating assets, which can have an effect on the safety of Indian Railways as well. So while we see that Railways has been struggling to generate its internal revenue, and it's unable to spend on assets and their maintenance or improve its services, this has an impact on the remunerative business, because then in that case passengers and businesses are choosing to move away from railways to other modes of transport. So because it's losing remunerative business, it's also not able to generate more revenue. So it's sort of stuck in a vicious circle now. Because of the decline in internal revenue generation, it also means that Railways has been financing its capital investment and expenditure through its other two revenue sources, which is the budgetary support that it gets from the central government, which this year is roughly to the tune of 66,000 crore rupees, and borrowings, which this year is estimated to be around 83,000 crore rupees. So over the last few years, while the support from the central government has more or less remained consistent, the railways borrowings have increased quite a bit. Now, experts have also noted that considering the financial situation of the railways, uh, getting into more and more borrowings could worsen the debt situation that railways has, and it would worsen its financial situation. In this year's budget, it was also announced that rail infrastructure would need an estimated investment of around rupees 50 lakh crore rupees between now and 2030. The question is, now that we have looked at the way railways finances are situated currently, the question is, how will such infrastructure investment be financed in the future? For more details on understanding railways finances and especially this year's budget, please have a look at our budget analysis and also a report on the state of Indian Railways.